What's up, guys? Welcome to another creepypasta. This is a creepypasta of my own creation based off a true story. It's called The Missed Calls.
I suspected something would happen when my friend came over, because something always does, but not something like this. A normal evening with my friends, followed by working on my YouTube channel, lots of laughter, recording videos, and Chinese takeout. We didn't realize the time was flying by as we laughed hours away. Pretty soon Ethan had to go, so Will and I remained. Will and I were left to be stupid on our own. Around midnight I began doing the dishes so I could get it over with before I became too tired to bother myself with them. As I did them, Will kept me company as I talked about my crushes and whatnot. Will usually had good advice with things like that. As he gave advice, he began speaking about his mother, who always taught him to be a gentleman. I knew his mother, a kind woman named Sylvia. She definitely had a special place in my heart. The conversation consisted mostly of memories between the three of us, usually Will being the black sheep of the story. As the conversation went on, it became mellow and Will grew sad remembering that it's been about a year since his mother's death. He suddenly picks up the house phone and starts dialing 911265. He looked at me with a blank stare while I asked, "What are you doing?" He hung up. He was clearly ignoring me. Something was off. He picked up once again, dialing a phone number. At this point I gave up questioning him and let him be, becoming annoyed. It rang for about a minute, and he hung up, so I asked, "Who was that?" He responds, "That's my mother's old number. I enjoy hearing her voicemail," which consisted of, "Hello, my name is Sylvia. Please leave your name, number, and a brief message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. God bless. Bye-bye now." But this wasn't the case. This time he gave up after a while, because it had been ringing for quite a minute. So we resumed our conversation, but about 2 minutes later the phone rang. We made eye contact immediately, out of fear. It's 12:30. Who's calling at this time? I couldn't check the caller ID at the moment, so I let it ring, thinking my father would answer. We continued, but again the phone rang, not even a minute later. This time the noise pierced my ears, filling me with shock. "I bet it's my mother," he says. Not sure what to think at this point. I go to check the call list. I read, Sylvia B. I look at Will in shock, slightly shaken up. I return to the dishes. Will nonchalantly changes the subject to match the unsettling mood. We traded creepy stories, and then it happened. 3 knocks on the door. We met eye contact again, with fear being more obvious in the eyes, which is rare because Will never gets scared. "Ignore it," I whispered, thinking they would go away. But we weren't that lucky. I felt like a minute had gone by, but then we received 3 more knocks, much louder than the first. I'm thoroughly freaking out at this point. Thinking it was a noise complaint, I sent Will to get my father, to tell him someone was at the door. But in the back of my mind, I was questioning, could it be his mother? I am practically shaking at this point. Will has a worried look in his eyes, as my father goes to answer the door. "Who is it?" I stay in the kitchen and Will moves towards the door, while Will and my father go to the door. "Police!" "Police," I say in my head, thinking back to the first misdialed number. 911265. "Let me see your badge," my father replies. They comply, and they ask if they can come inside, which they do. They asked if we were okay, because they received a 911 call from this address, so we politely explained what happened, and they were on their way. I explained to Will how freaked out I was, and he insists that I'm a wimp. Half an hour goes by, and my father is asleep, and we were relaxing our nerves by playing video games. The casual Kingdom Hearts, followed by some Dragon Ball Z. We were interrupted one last by a very soft knock on the door, so soft it was almost missed. So I tell Will to go inspect because I'm not the gutsy type. So he complies and approaches the door. He asks who is it, and gets no response. He looks through the peephole, and looks back at me with bright eyes and smiles. "Who is it?" I ask nervously. With a crooked smile he replies, "It's her." "Who?" I say. He opens the door and exits. It's been a few months now, and I haven't seen him or been able to contact him since.